Hello, my name is Nicole McGuire, and I'm here to talk to you today about my book, When Mothers Cry. I wrote this book under all sorts of pressure, stress. The children were everywhere. I have 4 sons. Yes, I do. And they were everywhere, interrupting me, crying, whining. This one needed his diaper changed, and so on and so forth. But I managed. It took me a couple years, but I managed 320 pages of some good stuff about motherhood challenges based on my own personal experience, as well as professionals who have been there, done that, and they wrote their share of books as well. So I give them credit where noted. Now, what can we say about motherhood, really? What can we say about it? I can tell you that for me, motherhood has changed my life. Before the kids came about, I will admit I was a selfish woman. I wanted my time, my space, my this and my that. And then one day at 24 years old, my belly was puffing out. And I thought that I was eating too much. Okay? I thought that I just had a little bit of gas that just didn't seem to go away in over a month. And one day I decided to do what many of you probably have already done, and that is take that test. And I took it, and it came up positive. That little cross to me was more than just a cross, a positive. It was a cross that said, hello, Jesus is in the plan here, whether we choose to acknowledge that or not. And he sure was. The woman, the nurse there, did ask me if I wanted to abort my child. And I had already been told by various talk shows, by people on the street and everywhere else, that abortion was simply not the right way to go. Prior to that, I was a woman who believed that it was a woman's right to choose. And yes, it is. It is everyone's right to choose anything, good, bad, or otherwise. And I chose life. Okay? So there's a price to pay, right? There's a price to pay with every decision we make. And the price for me was going to be a baby with a new job and a new relationship. I made my bed, and now I would lie in it. So, in When Mothers Cry, you will hear or read, because I am also on a site called associatedcontent.com, where I have recordings of some of the book, so you can hear some of the book there. But the whole book, which I encourage you to get, is on amazon.com. And I talk about how childhood play puts into motion this idea of motherhood. We have the dolls as little girls. We baby them. We diaper them. So we're already molded to become mothers at very young ages, whether we choose to be mothers or not. So I talk about that and how it impacts us. And then I get into playing mother, how when we play these games of being a mother as a child, we eventually end up wanting to play the real part, and how that tends to put some stress in areas of our life as a result. Then there is a mother's resume. I thought this chapter was important to include in the book because we have various titles as mothers, don't we? And those titles are overwhelming, and we don't get paid the big bucks. And sometimes the men in our lives don't understand how stressful it can be. This was really the premise behind writing the whole book, was that the people around me did not understand the mental impact having 4 children took on me. I mean, I could understand, and I say this in my book, I can understand why there are the Andrea Yates. Okay, if you remember, she was the one who killed her children. There was another high profile case where another woman did the same thing and blamed it on a black guy. These things that we go through as mothers is so profound at times mentally. We don't know whether we're coming or going, and then the audacity that someone will criticize us for, taking care of the children. You shouldn't hold the bottle that way. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't do that. Look, I read how many books? I went to how many classes? So we're not talking about the inexperienced, ignorant mother who doesn't pick up a book and doesn't want to learn. We're talking about mothers who are, dare I say it, striving to be perfect. And then along comes pressure from outside people who don't crack open books and don't read or don't watch videos. So while I wrote this, prior to writing this book, there was a book that I had read, and it was by a bishop, and it was about motherhood. Well, that was my first problem. What is a man doing writing about motherhood? At first, I didn't see anything wrong with it, but then as I read his words, there is a big problem with a man trying to speak on motherhood issues. You can interview as many women as you want, but sometimes, there's just a story that really sinks in your gut when you know that person has been where you have been. You see, I have been where many of you are starting, have already gone, and will be going into some new places with these 4 children of mine. And I can tell you that to read this man's words, and he was trying to motivate, he was trying to encourage by using little scriptures here and there about motherhood and things of that sort, and it just wasn't doing it for me, because I kept seeing him, the man, the bishop, who presides over a huge congregation of people. So you have money coming in. Do you know what it's like to sign up for welfare? Do you know what it's like to sign up for WIC and grab the wrong product and put it on the conveyor belt, and they tell you, oh, I'm sorry, in front of everybody, you picked up the wrong cheese. You were supposed to get that cheese. Hello. That's all I can say. Wow. But I do talk about that a little bit in the book about men and them not quite understanding, and I do use personal experience. So were there some people a little bit offended when I wrote this book that I know? Yes. Oh yes, because I don't lie in my book. I don't sugarcoat in my book. I'm straight up with you. What else? There is a section in there that I devote to the mothers who have passed, mothers who have gone on, who never did get an opportunity to really speak to the young mothers out there and give them the encouragement through their own personal experience. They died too young. They carried a lot of weight on their shoulders. And interesting enough, with the exception of one woman, their men, their partners, all lived. So that says something. We are always talking about how men are dying sooner. Well, I'm here to tell you that in my personal experience, the women are dying before the men. Okay? And when I looked at their lives, I can see why. Because when we got involved in this whole feminist movement through the writings that the feminists before us wrote and these groups and so on and so forth, what we failed to understand was we were giving ourselves more responsibility by going out there and getting a job and taking care of the children and taking care of the housework and managing bills and doing so many other things. And the man's role didn't change. A lot of times these men are coming in and they're still propping up their feet and watching TV while she's moving and grooving here, there, and everywhere. And some of these women resent their men because of it.